हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and pranams. Thank you for joining in for our Krishna book study session. We're continuing with from chapter number 76. Let's start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Utirayet. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. नमो पंकजनाभाय नमो पंकजमालिने नमो पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रये पाहि पाहि महायोगीन् देवदेव जगत्पते नान्यं त्वादभयं पश्ये यत्र मृत्यु परस्परं कृष्ण कृष्ण महाबाहो भक्तानां अभयंकरा त्वमेको दह्यमानानाम् अपवर्गोऽसि संश्रुतेः. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरदुषे नमः. पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दिनतारिणं. परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरं. हरिः ओं तत्सत्. गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तरालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. आजानुलम्बितौ भुजौ कनकावदातौ सङ्कीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वाम्बरौ द्विजवरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ. आराध्य भगवान् ब्रजेशतनयस्तद्धाम वृन्दावनं रम्या काचित् उपासना व्रजवधू वर्गेण वा कल्पिता. श्रीमद्भागवतं प्रमाणममलं प्रेम पुमर्तो महान्. श्रीचैतन्य महाप्रभोर्मतमिदं तत्र दरनापर. अयि दीनदयाद्रनाथ हे मथुरानाथ कदा अवलोक्यसे हृदयं त्वदलोककातरम्. दैत्य भ्राम्यति kim karomyaham. Hare Krishna. So dear devotees, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you very much for joining in for our Krishna book study session. So we are currently on chapter number 76. Right? We saw how Krishna made Yudhishthira Maharaj Rajasuya sacrifice successful, and then Krishna wanted to leave Hastinapur to go back to Dwaraka, but after killing Jarasandha, and after becoming the main recipient of the worship in the Rajasuya Yajna, and when Krishna was going, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj requested him to stay back for some time. So actually Krishna asked all of his all of his relatives like Samba and everyone else who also accompanied Krishna for this. They all went back to Dwaraka, but Krishna alone stayed back in Hastinapura to give pleasure to Yudhishthira Maharaj, who personally requested Lord Shri Krishna to stay back. So now let's continue reading from chapter number 76. So this chapter is entitled The Battle Between Shalva and the members of the Yadu dynasty. All right, so let's quickly go on to this. Let me share my screen. Devotees who want to read can raise your hands. And then quickly let's go on to chapter number 76 of the Krishna book, entitled The Battle Between Shalva and members of the Yadu dynasty. Okay, Sridhar Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Chapter 76, the battle between Salaiva and member of the Yadu dynasty. While Sukadeva Goswami was narrating various activities of Lord Krishna in playing the role of an ordinary human being, he also narrated the history of the battle between the dynasty of Yadu and demon of the name Salaiva, who had managed to possess the wonderful airship named Subha. King Salaiva was the great king, friend of Sisubala. When Sisubala went to marry Rukmani, Salaiva was one of the members of the background party. In the fight between the soldiers of Yadu dynasty and the king of the opposite side, Salaiva was defeated by the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. But despite his defeat, he made promise before all the kings that he would in the future rid the whole world of the members of the Yadu dynasty. Since his defeat in the fight during the marriage of Rukmani, he had maintained within himself to unforgettable envy of Lord Krishna, and he has in fact a fool because he had promised to kill Krishna. Usually such foolish demons like shelter of demigod like Lord Shiva to execute their ulterior plans, and so in order to get strength, Salaiva took refuge in the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. He underwent a severe type of austerity during when he would eat no more than the handful of ashes daily. Lord Shiva, the husband of Parvati, is generally very merciful, and he is very quickly satisfied if someone undertake the severe austerities to please him. So after continued austerities by Salaiva for 1 year, Lord Shiva became pleased with him and asked him to beg for fulfillment of his desire. Salaiva begged from Lord Shiva the gift of an airplane which would be so strong that it could not be destroyed by any demigod, demon, human being, Gandharva or Naga, or even the Rakshasas. Moreover, he desired that aeroplane to be able to fly anywhere and everywhere he would like to pilot it. And he is especially very dangerous and fearful to the dynasty of the Yadus. Lord Shiva immediately agreed to give him a benediction, and Salaiva took the help of demon Maya to manufacture this iron aeroplane, which was so strong and formidable that no one could crash it. It was very big machine, almost like a big city, and it could fly so high at such a great speed that it was almost impossible to see. So there was no question of attacking it. It appeared to be almost covered with darkness, yet to the pilot could fly in anywhere and everywhere. Having acquired such a wonderful airplane, Salaiva flew in the city of Dwaraka because his main purpose to obtaining the aeroplane was to attack the city of Yadus, towards whom he maintained the constant feeling of animosity. Salaiva thus attacked the city of Dwaraka from the sky, and he also surrounded the city with a large number of infantry. The soldiers of the surface attacked the beautiful spot of the city, they become to destroy the nice parks, the city gates, the palaces, and the skyscrapers houses, the high walls around the city, and the beautiful spot where the people would gather and for recreation. While the soldiers attacked on the surface, the airplane began to drop a big slab of stone, tree, trucks, thunderbolts, poisonous snakes, and many other dangerous things. Saliva also managed to create such a strong whirlwind with the city that all the Dwaraka become the dark because of the dust and covered the sky. The aeroplane occupied by Saliva put the entire city of Dwaraka into distress equal to the cost on the earth long ago by distributing activities of Tripurasura. The inhabitants of the Dwarakapuri became so harassed that they were not peaceful for even a moment. The great heroes of the city, Dwaraka city, headed by the commanders such as Pradyumna, counter-attacked the soldiers and aeroplane of Saliva. When he saw the extreme distress of the citizens, Pradyumna immediately arranged his soldiers and personally got up on the chariot, encouraging the citizen by assuring safety. Following his command, many warriors like Satyaki, Charudeshna, and Samba, all young brothers of Pradyumna, as well as Akrura, Krityumva, Bhanuvida, Gada, Sukha, and Sara, all came out of the city to fight with Saliva. All of them were Maharathas, great warriors able to fight with thousands of men. All were fully equipped with the necessary weapons and assisted by the hundreds and thousands of charioteers, elephants, horses, and infantry soldiers. Fighting between the two parties, exactly like that formerly carried on between the demigods and the demons. The fighting was severe, and whoever observed the fierce natures of the fight felt his bodily hairs stand on the end. Pradyumna
Correct.
immediately.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. That was Pranam Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. So we see here that, a typical demon, what he would do in case he is defeated by the Lord, he would try to find ulterior ways or other ways by which, he'll become more powerful than the Lord. That is the foolishness of the demons, actually, right? So he also worshipped Lord Shiva, and in this way he tried to, he wanted to defeat Lord Sri Krishna, right? Not understanding that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma and all of them are deriving their powers only from Lord Vishnu, right? From Lord Krishna, right? We also remember that pastime, right? Where this Keshav Kashmiri, he got powers from Saraswati Devi, that nobody will deceive you, nobody will be able to defeat you in scholarship or in a debate or in a Sanskrit grammar, right? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated Keshav Kashmiri, and in the dream, in the whole day he was thinking, why? And he was asking Mother Saraswati, you promised me that nobody can defeat me. How is it that somebody is able to defeat me? Right? And Mother Saraswati came in the dream of Keshav Kashmir and told that, yes, I promise to help you, but not in a debate against my own Lord, from whom I also get powers. Right? I also get my powers to protect, those people who worship me. Only my power also comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So in this case, Shalva is quite foolish. Right? He actually worshipped Lord Shiva to be able to fight against the Yadu dynasty, to take his revenge against Krishna. Right? Ekala Ishwara Krishna Ara Sabhabhritya. Everybody else is a servant of Krishna. So in that case, we all know what is going to be the result of such a penance, right? So, so Shalva gets his blessing from Lord Shiva, and he attacks the Yadu dynasty. And of course, we see Pradyumna and the various Yadu dynasty warriors are here, and they are all putting up a big fight. Let's see what happens. Okay, Anusha Mataji, go ahead. Pradyumna immediately contracted from there.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranams, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji. Pradyumna immediately counteracted the mystic demonstration occasioned by the airplane of Shalva, the king of Shaubha. By the mystic power of the airplane, Shalva had created a darkness as dense as night, but Pradyumna all of a sudden appeared like the rising sun. As with the rising of the sun, the darkness of night is immediately dissipated. With the appearance of Pradyumna, the power exhibited by Shalva became null and void. Each of Pradyumna's arrows had a golden feather at the end, and the shaft was fitted with a sharp iron head. By releasing 25 such arrows, Pradyumna severely injured Salva's commander-in-chief. He then released another 100 arrows towards the body of Shalva. After this, he pierced each and every soldier by releasing one arrow. He killed the chariot drivers by firing 10 arrows at each one of them, and he killed the carriers like the horses and elephants by releasing 3 arrows directed towards each one. When everyone present on the battlefield saw this wonderful feat of Pradyumna's, the great fighters on both sides praised his acts of chivalry. But still, the airplane occupied by Shalva was very mysterious. It was so extraordinary that sometimes many airplanes would appear to be in the sky, and sometimes there were apparently none. Sometimes the plane was visible and sometimes not visible, and the warriors of the Yadu dynasty were puzzled about the whereabouts of the peculiar aeroplane. Sometimes they would see the aeroplane on the ground, sometimes flying in the sky, sometimes resting on the peak of a hill, and sometimes floating on the water. The wonderful airplane flew in the sky like a whirling fiber brand. It was not steady even for a moment. But despite the mysterious maneuvering of the airplane, the commanders and soldiers of Yadu dynasty would immediately rush towards Shalva wherever he was present with his airplane and soldiers. The arrows released by the dynasty of the Yadus were as brilliant as the sun and as dangerous as the tongues of serpents. All the soldiers fighting on behalf of Shalva soon became distressed by the incessant release of arrows upon them by the heroes of the Yadu dynasty, and Shalva himself became unconscious from the attack of these arrows. Can I go ahead, Mataji?
Yeah.
The soldiers fighting on behalf of Shalva were also very strong, and the release of their arrows also harassed the heroes of the Yadu dynasty. But still, the Yadus were so strong and determined that they did not move from their strategic positions. The heroes of the Yadu dynasty were determined either to die on the battlefield or to gain victory. They were confident that if they died in the fighting, they would attain a heavenly planet, and if they came out victorious, they would enjoy the world. The name of Shalva's commander in chief was Dyuman. He was very powerful, and although bitten by 25 of Pradyumna's arrows, he suddenly attacked Pradyumna with his fierce club and struck him so strongly that Pradyumna became unconscious. Immediately there was a roaring. Now he is dead! Now he is dead! The force of the club on Pradyumna's chest was very severe, and it appeared as though his chest had been torn asunder. Pradyumna's chariot was being driven by the son of Daruka. According to Vedic military principles, the chariot driver and the hero on the chariot must cooperate during the fighting. As such, because it was the duty of the chariot driver to take care of the hero on the chariot during the dangerous and precarious fighting, Daruka's son removed Pradyumna from the battlefield. 2 hours later, in a quiet place, Pradyumna regained consciousness, and when he saw that he was in a place other than the battlefield, he addressed the charioteer and condemned him.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So we see here, and in several places we see that, right? That the charioteer actually helps the warrior to move to a particular place so that he is not killed by the opponent. So in fact, that is a role of a charioteer, right? Sometimes the king, right, whoever is having the particular charioteer may not be happy also. In this case also, Pradyumna would not be happy because Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita, right, that it is far better to die on the battlefield performing one's own swadharma rather than running away from the battle, right? Not performing one's swadharma, right? Shreya swadharma vigunaha paradharma chanusthita, right? Swadharmo nidanam shreya paradharmo bhayavaha, right? Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, it is better to perform one's own duty, and even dying performing one's own duty is better than performing another's duty even perfectly, right? So in this case, Pradyumna is going to chastise, the son of Daruka, who was his chariot driver. Why did you remove me from the battlefield? I could have been, it is better to die in the battlefield rather than to come, right? So let's see what happens after this, right? So generally, it is the duty of the charioteer, right? If it's possible for him to make them move to a particular place where the king or the person who is actually fighting The war is protected for the time being, right? And then again he comes to the battlefield and he fights the war. So common. Let's see what happened in this case. What is happening? While the son of Dwaraka, who's a charioteer of Pradyumna, actually protected him by moving him away from the battlefield for a little while. Okay, Rajneesh Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Yes.
Oh, you have done the most abomin. Oh,
Abominable act.
you have done the most abominable act. Why have you removed me from the battlefield, my dear charioteer? I have never heard that any of our family members was ever removed from the battlefield. None of them left the battlefield while fighting. By this removal, you have overburdened me with a great defamation. It will be said that I left the battlefield while fighting was going on. My dear charioteer, I must accuse you. You are a coward and emasculator. Tell me, how can I go before my uncle Balram and my father Krishna, and what shall I say before them? Everyone will talk about me and say that I fled from the fighting place, and if they inquire from me about this, what will be my reply? My sisters in law will play jokes upon me with sarcastic words. My dear hero, how have you become so much a coward? How have you become a inch? How have you become so low in the eyes of the fighters who opposed you? I think, my dear charioteer, that you have committed a great offense by removing me from the battlefield. The charioteer of Pradyumna replied, my dear sir, I wish a long life for you. I think that I did nothing wrong, for it is the duty of the charioteer to help the fighter in the chariot when he is in a precarious condition. My dear sir, you are completely competent in the battlefield, but it is the duty of the charioteer and warrior to protect each other in the precarious condition. I was completely aware of the regulative principles of fighting, and I did my duty. The enemy all of a sudden struck you with his club so severely that you lost consciousness. You were in a dangerous position, surrounded by your enemies. Therefore, I was obliged to act as I did. This ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of 76th chapter of Krishna, the battle between Saul and the members of the Yadu dynasty. Hare Krishna.
Right. All right. So let's move ahead. Chapter number 77. So let's see what is happening in the battlefield after that. Yes, Prabhu, you can continue. The deliverance of
Okay.
Shalva, chapter number 77. Yeah.
The deliverance of Salva. After talking with his charioteer, the son of Daruka, Pradyuman could understand the real circumstances. Therefore, he refreshed himself by washing by his mouth and hands, and after arming himself properly with the bows and arrows, he asked his charioteer to take him near the place where Saul's commander-in-chief was standing. During the short absence of Pradyumna from the battlefield, Dyuman, Salva's commander-in-chief, had been taking over the positions of the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. Appearing on the battlefield, Pradyumna immediately stopped him and, smiling, shot 8 arrows at him. With 4 arrows, he killed Dyuman's 4 horses, and with 1 arrow, his chariot driver. With another arrow, he cut his bow in two. With another, he cut his in pieces, flag to pieces, and with the last, he severed his head from his body. On the other fronts, heroes like Gada, Satyaki, and Sam were killing the soldiers of Saul. The soldiers staying with Sal in the airplane were also killed in the fighting, and they fell into the ocean. Each party began to strike the opposite party very severely in a fierce, dangerous battle that continued for 27 days without stopping. While the fight was going on in the city of Dwarka, Krishna was staying at Indraprasth with the Pandavas and King Yudhishthira. This fighting with Sal took place after Rasu Yajna had been performed by King Yudhishthira and after the killing of Shishupal. When Lord Krishna understood that there was great danger in the city of Dwarika, he took permission from his elder members of the Pandava family, especially from his aunt Kunti Devi, and started immediately for Dwarika.
Hare
Lord
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mata.
Rake Krishna, Mare Krishna, Rake Ke. So now Krishna is still in Indraprastha because Yudhishthira Maharaj asked him to stay back for a little while after the Rajasya Yajna. That's how the previous to the previous chapter ended. By that time, when Krishna is not in Dwarka, this Shalva and his and the associates, right, they wanted to take revenge against Krishna because the enmity started from the time of Rukmini Swayamvar, right, where all of them wanted to marry Rukmini Devi, and you all know how in the Rakshasa style Krishna actually took Rukmini Devi, and then we were seeing a lot of pastimes of Lord Krishna's lineage. That's what we are seing here, right? Lord Krishna's sons and how many queens he married, how he married the queens who were captured by Narakasura, and then how 16,100 queens were married to Lord Shri Krishna, and how the 8 principal queens were married, Rukmini, Satyabhama, Kalindi, and all of them, right? Nagnajiti and all of them. And then we saw how finally the Rajasya Yajna happened and the killing of Jarasandha and all that. And then we saw that after the Rajasya Yajna, Krishna was also supposed to return along with Pradyumna, Samba, and all of them back to Dwaraka. But since Yudhishthira Maharaj requested, Krishna was still in Indraprastha. And now Krishna knows everything, right? Krishna does not need any phone call. Yo, this trouble, please come. No. So Krishna sarvasya chaham riti sannivishto matas prati jnanam apohanam cha. Right? Trikal, right? He knows all the three. He knows the past, the present, and the future. Right? So he knew that now, Shalva has attacked. And it's a very, very dangerous situation for the people in Dwaraka. And his own son Pradyumna is actually fighting the battle. And he knows what kind of a person this Shalva is. Right? So in this way, Krishna immediately took permission and is now coming back to Hastinapura. Now we know that Krishna is coming back, then all is safe. Right? We know that was the case with Draupadi. Right? They need not call. Right? If we call, then how much Krishna would be indebted to us? Right? Krishna actually wants us to remember him at all times. Right? Generally, it's easy to remember the Lord when times are difficult. Right? In times of happiness or so-called perceived happiness, when things are going our way, it becomes difficult to remember the Lord. But we should remember the Lord at all times. Either in times of distress with helplessness, oh Krishna, please help me. And in times where things are going well according to our plan, we can remember Krishna with gratitude. Right? Because everything is happening only with the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So in all times, 24 hours of the day, we should be able to remember Krishna. So today is Ramanujacharya Sirubhav Tithi. And that's what Varadaraj Perumal told to Kanchipurna also. It was delivered to Ramanujacharya also. A devotee did not remember me at the time of death. If a devotee remembers me throughout his life, right, throughout his or her life as one is living, right, and doing one's activities, right, then that becomes more pleasing to Lord Shri Krishna. And Krishna told, as Varadaraj Perumal, he told Kanchipurna, if a devotee remembers me throughout his life, at the time of death, when Kapha, Vata, Pitta are all imbalanced, right, I will ensure my own remembrance, right, for the devotee. The devotee need not worry, oh, how will I remember the Lord? Right, I am unconscious, or I'm not able to think of the Lord, right? None of my body parts are working properly, right? But the Lord will ensure his own remembrance. If we simply remember the Lord when we are physically fit, when we are active, when we are living, in that way, we should always think of Krishna. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Krishna mati rastu. If that is the goal of the life, we'll always be eternally protected by the Lord, like that. Okay, Karpakamali Mataji, go ahead. Lord Krishna began to think.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dandatnam. Lord Krishna began to think that while he was staying in Hastinapura with Balarama after the killing of Sisupala, Sisupala's men must have attacked Dwaraka. On reaching Dwaraka, Lord Krishna saw that the whole city was greatly endangered. He placed Balramji in a strategic position for the protection of the city, and he himself asked his charioteer Daruka to prepare to start. He said, Daruka, please immediately take me to where Salva is staying. You may know that this Salva is very powerful and mysterious man. Don't fear him in the least. As soon as he got his orders from the Lord Krishna, Taruka had them seated on the chariot and drove very quickly towards Salva. The chariot of Lord Krishna was marked with the flag bearing the insignia of Garuda, and as soon as the soldiers and warriors of the Yadu dynasty saw the flag, they could understand that the Lord Krishna was on the battlefield. By this time, almost all the soldiers of Salva had been killed, but when Salva saw that Krishna had come to the battlefield, he released a great powerful weapon which flew through the sky with a roaring sound like a great meteor. It was so bright that the whole sky was lit up by its presence. But as soon as the Lord appeared, he tore the great weapon into hundreds and thousands of pieces by releasing his own arrows. Lord Krishna struck Salva with 16 arrows, and with showers of arrows, he overpowered the airplane, and just as the sun in the clear sky overpowers the whole sky by an unlimited number of molecules of sunshine. Salva struck a severe blow to Krishna's left side, where the Lord carried his bow, Saranga, and as a result, the Saranga bow fell from the of Krishna's hand. This dropping of the bow was indeed wonderful. Great personalities and demigods who were observing the fighting between Salva and Krishna were most perturbed by this, and they exclaimed, Alas, alas! Salva thought that he had become victorious, and with a roaring sound, he addressed Lord Krishna as follows: You rascal Krishna, you can kidnap Rukmani forcibly, even in our presence. You baffled my friend Sisubala and married Rukmani yourself. And in the great assembly at King Yudhishthira's Rajasva Yajna, while my friend Sisubala was a little absent-minded, you took an opportunity to kill him. Everyone thinks that you are a great fighter, and that no one can conquer you. Now you will have to prove your strength. I think that if you stand before me any longer with my sharp arrows, I shall send you to a place where from you will never return. To this Lord Krishna replied, Foolish Sarva, you are talking nonsensically. You do not know that the moment of death is already upon your head. Actually, heroes do not talk much. They prove their prowess by practical exhibition of chivalrous activities. After saying this, Lord Krishna, in great anger, struck Salva on the collarbone with his club so severely that Salva began to vomit blood and tremble as if he was going to collapse from the severe cold. Before Krishna was able to strike him again, however, Salva became invisible by his mystic power. Within a few moments, a mysterious unknown man came before Lord Krishna. Crying loudly, he bowed down at the Lord's lotus feet and said to him, Since you are the most beloved son of your father Vasudeva, your mother Devaki had sent me to inform you that the unfortunate news that Salva has arrested your father and taken him away by force, just as a butcher mercilessly takes away an animal. When Lord Krishna heard this unfortunate news from the unknown man, he at first became most perturbed, just as an ordinary human being. His face showed signs of grief, and he began to cry at the piteous tone. How could that happen? My brother Lord Balrama is there, and it is impossible for anyone to conquer Balramji. He is in charge of Dwarka city, and I know that he is always alert. How could Salva possibly enter the city and arrest my father in that way? However, may, whatever Salva may be, his power is limited. So how could this happen? How could this be possible that He has conquered the strength of Balramji and taken away my father, arresting him as prescribed by this man. Allah's destiny is, after all, very powerful. When Sri Krishna was thinking like this, Salva brought before him in custody a man exactly resembling Vasudeva, his father. There were all creations of mystic power of Salva. Salva addressed Krishna, "You rascal Krishna, look, this is your father who has begotten you and by whose mercy you are still living. Now just see how I killed your father. If you have any strength, try to save him." The mystic juggler Shalva, speaking in this way before Lord Krishna, immediately cut off the head of the false Vasudeva. Then without hesitation, he took away the head dead body and got into his airplane. Lord Krishna is the self-sufficient supreme personality of Godhead. Yet, because he was playing the role of a human being, he became very depressed for a moment, as if he had actually lost his father. But at that next moment, he could understand that the arrest and killing of his father was demonstrations of the mystic powers which Salvo had learned from the demon Maya. Coming to his right consciousness, he could see that there was no messenger and no head of his father, but that Salva had left his airplane, which was flying in the sky. He then began to think of slaying his Salva. Krishna's reaction is a controversial point among the great authorities and saintly persons. How could Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all power and knowledge, be bewildered in such a way? Lamentation, agreement, and bewilderment are the characteristics of the conditioned souls. But how can such things affect the person of the Supreme, who is full of knowledge, power, and all opulence? Actually, it is not at all possible that Krishna was misled by the mystic jugglery of Salva. He was displaying his pastime in playing the role of a human being. Great saintly person and sages who are engaged in devotional service of the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna and who have thus achieved the greatest perfection of self-realization has transcended the bewilderments of the bodily concept of life. Lord Krishna is the ultimate goal of life for such saintly persons. How then could Krishna have been bewildered by the mystic jugglery of Salva? The conclusion is that Lord Krishna's bewilderment was another opulence of his supreme personality. When
Hare
Salva
Krishna.
thought,
Thank you, Mataji. Haribol.
thank you, thank
So
you.
we see here, this is like the question that somebody asked Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Can Lord create a stone that he himself cannot lift? Right? And Chaitanya Prabhu answered, yes, the Lord can create a stone which he cannot lift. And when he wants to lift it, he will lift it also. Right? So this is kind of, bewildering all those, people, who ask questions so simply to, it is like a kind of a challenging argument. It's not about how do I practice this Krishna consciousness, some doubts relating to that. But this is like challenging the power of the Lord. Can the Lord do this? Because it's inconceivable how one can create something that he cannot lift, and yet he can lift it, right? Exactly that's what happened here, right? That Shalva actually made a kind of using his magical powers, he made Vasudeva, like somebody's face like Vasudeva, and he killed. And for a moment, it looked like Lord Krishna himself was bewildered. But Lord Krishna is there in everyone's heart. Lord Krishna knows what is happening, whether he's in Mathura or Dwaraka or in Vrindavan, he knows everywhere. He is situated in everyone's heart. He knows what is there in everyone's heart, even before the person only knows. Right? So Krishna immediately understood that it is all due to the magical powers of Shalva. Right? And Shalva was like, empty vessels make the most noise. That's what Krishna is also saying, right? Shut up and, fight the war. Right? If you're really powerful, you should not be talking. You should be fighting in the battlefield. And the very fact that somebody is using all these things, mystical things, and not fighting in the war means that that person is not powerful. That person is actually scared of Lord Sri Krishna. Right? And he himself thought, oh, I have duped Krishna. And in this way, this was what he was thinking out of his own foolishness. But let's see what's happening next, right? Of course, who can defeat the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna? Right? Yadyat vibhuti mat sattvam shrimad urjitam evava tattad evavagachatvam mama tejo amsha sambhavam. Right? Even if Shalva was so powerful and his display of magical, traits, right, is but a spark of Lord Krishna's splendor, right? Because Krishna is the source of all of these wonderful things. Right? If anything is wonderful and we are really appreciating something, then we should appreciate Krishna, because Krishna is the source of even all of these things like that. Moshma Malaji, yes, go ahead. when Shalva thought that Krishna had been bewildered from there.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Yes.
When Salva thought that Krishna had been bewildered by his mystic representation, he became encouraged and began to attack the Lord with great strength and energy by showering volleys of arrows upon him. But the enthusiasm of Salva can be compared to the speedy march of months into
Moths to a fire.
moth into a fire. Lord Lord Krishna, by
Hurling his arrows.
hurling his arrows with
Fathomable strength.
unfathomable strength, injured Salva, whose armors, bows, and jeweled helmet all scattered in the pieces, with a crashing blows from Krishna's club. Silva's wonderful airplane burnt into pieces and fell into the sea. Salva was very careful, and instead of crashing with the airplane, he managed to jump into the land. He again rushed towards the Krishna. When Salva ran swiftly to attack Krishna with his club, Lord Krishna cut off his hand, which fell into the ground with the club. Finally, deciding to kill him, the Lord took up his wonderful disc, which shone like the brilliant sun at the time of the dissolution of the material creation. When Lord Sri Krishna stood up with his disc to kill Salva, he appeared just like a mountain with the red sun rising over it. Lord Krishna then cut off Salva's head, and the head with its earring and helmet fell to the ground. Salva was thus killed in the same way that Vatasura was killed by Indra, the king of heaven. When Salva was killed, all his soldiers and followers cried, "Alas, alas!" While Salva's men were thus crying, the demigods from the heavenly planet showered flowers on Krishna and announced the victory by beating
drums and blowing bugles.
Blowing bugles. At that very moment, other friends of Shishupala, such as Dandavakra, appeared on the scene to fight with Krishna and avenge the death of Shishupal and others. When Dandavakra appeared before Lord Krishna, he was extremely angry. Thus, and the Bhakti Vedanta purport of
77th chapter.
77th chapter of the Krishna, the deliver little up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
and now one more demon is coming now, right? Seeing this after Shalva, right? After Shishupal, then Shalva. Now we'll see Dantavakra is also coming, right? Shishupal and Dantavakra are actually Jaya and Vijaya, who came as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Shishupala, Dantavakra, and Ravana and Kumbhakarna, right? So in this way, let's see next who's coming. Dantavakra is coming. So our next chapter will talk about how Krishna is killing Dantavakra, right? And his friends. You have all of those warriors who are friends of Shishupal and who want to avenge the death of Shishupal. So we'll see how Krishna is also killing all of these kings like Dantavakra and all of them. So tomorrow we'll continue. Oh, tomorrow is Friday, Saturday, right? So we will continue on Monday now. On tomorrow we will have our Ekadashi special session. So join us tomorrow 1 to 2 as we do our Ekadashi special session. We'll also sing this Nityananda Ashtakam tomorrow because 10th is Nityananda Trayodashi. So tomorrow is Ekadashi. Tomorrow is full fast till noon because day after tomorrow is Dwadashi and also appearance day of Varahadev. Right. So for tomorrow we'll observe the appearance of Varahadev. For that we are fasting full till noon, full fast, even from water, right, until 12 noon. And then we break our fast with Ekadashi Prasadam. And then that's tomorrow, Saturday, and 9th, 1 to 2, right? So we can break fast and then we can join our session at 1 o'clock, Ekadashi special session. And then 9th is Dwadashi. We can talk about the wonderful pastimes of Varahadev on 9th, Sunday. And 10th is Nityananda Trayodashi. So this entire week has been wonderful festivities. So, so those of us who have not yet taken the sankalpa to chant extra rounds during this week may do so. For tomorrow, we can take a sankalpa to chant extra number of rounds for the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga, and we can take the sankalpa in our Ekadashi group, and then we can also report it in the reporting link that will be shared tomorrow, or it will be shared on Dwadashi morning. Right, there you can mention how many rounds you did. So Prabhupada has told minimum 25 rounds on Ekadashi. So let's try to do minimum 25 rounds or even more than that. The pleasure of Guru and Gauranga, and please do report it in the Google form, and then we'll also call out your names and chant Narasimha Kavacham for your protection. So thank you very much for joining in. We'll do Harinam Sankirtan. Devotees can switch on your cameras. You're on the dot. It is 2 o'clock. So we are on the dot. We are ending our session on time. Let's quickly do Harinam Sankirtan and we'll end our session. Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvisesha-shunyavadi Asatyadishatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Gauranitai Jai Jagannath Jai Baladev Jai Jai Subhadra Jai Jai Sudarshan Jai Bala Gopal Jaya Rukmini Vitthal Jai Prahlad Narsingha Jaya Lakshmi Narsingha Jai Rukmini Vitthal Jaya Radha Krishna Jaya Radhe Radhe Jai Shad Goswamis Jai Guru Parampara Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. So Hare Krishna. So thank you devotees for joining in today's study. Tomorrow we'll meet at 5 a.m. for our Brahma Muhurta chanting session, and then meet at 1 p.m. Indian Standard Time for our Ekadashi special session. Thank you for joining in. Thank you Moshmi Mataji, Rajneesh Prabhu, Amritmayi Mataji, Chitra Krishna, Sevini Mataji, Harjeet Mataji, and Namish Prabhuji, Sridhar Prabhu, Anusha Mataji, Karpagavali Mataji, Archana Mataji, Shobha Mataji, Sarva Gopeshri Mataji, Deval Mataji. Thank you very much for joining in. We'll meet you all tomorrow morning. Thank you. Danat pranams to all. Hare Krishna. And please do take Sankalpa for Ekadashi today itself, and then we will